So you've seen a picture of a majestic yak and thought, hey, I could do that. I get it. But what's the number one question that pops up right after that dream? How much does it really cost to get a yak farm up and running? Well, today, we're going to get into the actual numbers.
It is a pretty incredible vision, isn't it? Just picturing it. Wide open spaces, these stunningly tough animals, and a lifestyle that's just completely different. It's a powerful dream for sure, but like any big dream, it's got a price tag. So what's the reality behind all that romance?
And this slide really nails it. On one side, you've got the dream, right? A sustainable life, super resilient animals, amazing and unique products like fiber and meat. But then you've got the other side of the coin, the cold, hard reality of land costs, infrastructure, vet bills, all of it. So let's start breaking down that reality, piece by piece.
All right, first things first. Before you can even think about getting a single yak, you need a place for them to live, a place for them to thrive. This is all about building the foundation for your entire operation. And let's be crystal clear, this is almost always the single biggest line item in your startup budget. No question. Yaks need plenty of space to graze and roam, and the cost for that land could swing wildly depending on the location, how many acres you're talking, and the quality of the pasture.
So you've got a major decision to make right out of the gate. Buying land, well, it's a massive upfront cost, but it's a long-term asset that you control completely. Leasing, on the other hand, is much more affordable to start and gives you some flexibility. The catch, you have less control, and you've got to make sure that lease is long enough to actually let your business grow. Now here's what's so interesting. Even though yaks are incredibly hardy animals, this is all non-negotiable. You absolutely need shelters for calving or just extreme weather. You need secure fencing, and I'm talking serious fencing that can handle these large animals, and of course a reliable water source. On top of that, you might have to invest in just preparing the land itself, clearing brush, improving the soil. It all adds up. So you've built the foundation, you've got the land, you've got the buildings. Now it's time for the heart of the farm, the yaks themselves. And here it is, the core animal cost. A single adult yak can run you anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000. That price tag really depends on a lot of things: the animal's age, its genetics, the breeder's reputation, and whether or not it's already a proven breeding animal. And this is a really crucial choice you have to make. You can invest more upfront for adult yaks, which means you can be productive almost immediately. Or you can save some money by starting with calves, which are way cheaper, maybe $500 to $2,000. The trade-off is huge though. It'll take years for those calves to mature, and they need a lot more intensive care in the meantime. Okay, let's just hit pause for a second here and take stock of where we are. At this point, we've secured the land, we've built the essential infrastructure, and we've purchased our starting herd. These are the huge one-time investments, but what does it actually take to keep it all going? And that brings us to the ongoing reality of the farm. We're shifting gears now from those big startup investments to the recurring costs, the stuff you pay for day in and day out. This right here is the engine that keeps your farm running. These are the costs that never really sleep. You've got supplemental feed like hay for the winter, mineral supplements to keep the herd healthy, and the equipment to manage it all, from ATVs to tractors. And then there's the one you can't really predict, but you have to plan for: vet care. You know, I love this point because it shines a light on a hidden cost. You might think, oh, yaks graze, so feed is free. But not quite. Keeping a pasture healthy and productive, that requires its own investment of time, labor, and maybe even new tools or seeds. It's all about proactive management. All right, you have the land, the animals, and a plan to keep things running. But to be successful, you have to treat this like a business, and that comes with its own set of professional costs. These are the expenses people so often forget about in all the excitement. Insurance is a huge one, not just for the property, but livestock insurance to protect your investment in the animals themselves. Then there's marketing, building a website, creating a brand, and eventually, as you grow, you might need to budget for some hired help. Okay, we've looked at the land, the infrastructure, the animals, and the business costs. It is time to bring it all together and get an idea of what that final number actually looks like. So here's a nice, clean summary of everything we've talked about. Your initial investment is really broken down into these key categories: the land itself, the infrastructure you build, the cost of your herd, the equipment to run the farm, and all those professional business essentials we just covered. And here it is, the big reveal.
For a small starter yak farm, you are likely looking at a range of $50,000 to $150,000. And honestly, it could be even more. Now, I know that's a huge range, but the crucial point is that it's heavily dependent on whether you buy or lease your land and how much new versus used equipment you decide to go with.
So after all that, we kind of land back here. Yes, the numbers are significant. It's a big investment. But is it just a financial calculation? Or is the real return on investment something you just can't put on a spreadsheet? That's a question only you can answer. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown.
Want to raise healthy, profitable yaks without beginner mistakes? Get How to Raise Yaks by Gerard Dawn, your step-by-step guide to successful yak farming. Link below.